Take episode 82, your weekly look into the business side of sports, a little unmuzzled sports talk on the Believe Podcast Network, your team. Breaking it down here. Of course, we are Mav Sports. At Mav_sports. I don't know why I'm already, it's already the chop shop, baby. It's
We're
like David
just
Turner.
starting. We're just
Yeah.
starting.
Well, we took a week off, man, and then I kind of lose my rhythm a little bit. I am Ryan Roberts, of course, at Rise and Draft on Twitter, riseanddraft.com. Joining me is my esteemed co-host, 18-year scouting vet in the business across the NFL, CFL, and Arena League, including 3 straight Arena League championships as a member of the front office with the Arizona Rattlers, Mr. David Turner, now the owner of Maverick Sports Consulting. We have a great interview segment tonight. If you are joining us live on a Tuesday night, we are 8:06. Oh man, I can't read. 8:06 Eastern time, live on Twitter, on YouTube, and on TikTok for some reason. Not my TikTok, David Turner's TikTok. We have a couple great interviews. Again, 16 days away from the 2022 NFL Draft officially kicking on. We got Mr. Cole Johnson, who's a quarterback out of James Madison, who's going to be coming on with us in just a second. Had a phenomenal year, David. Over 40-plus touchdowns for James Madison, which is a traditional power on the FCS level. Also have Mr. Chris Oladokin on later, who is a quarterback out of South Dakota State, NFLPA Bowl invite. Originally started his career at Samford, had a nice career at Samford, and then transferred this final year at South Dakota State. So, David, we have a couple great interviews on tap. Of course, we're inching our way to the 2022 NFL Draft. As I start out the show every single week, no matter the time, no matter where we're recording. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, doing great. This is, it's our time of year, draft time, and getting ready to rock and roll and watch how it was a very exciting free agent period. I was watching a show, NFL Live, earlier today, and I saw a bunch of even key free agents still sitting out there that people, it was almost like an all-star team that's still sitting there that can be signed. You guys got Julio Jones and, Landry still sitting out there. Plus, you got Collins and just so many good players that, could be signed here before the draft. And that will help us re-strategize draft picks and stuff as well. So it's really exciting time of year. The NFL is built with, suspense. And so I just love it. I just get all energized this time of year.
And of course, we just had a trade recently, New Orleans Saints and Philadelphia Eagles swapping some draft picks. Maybe we could try to touch base on that later in the show. I don't want to keep Cole Johnson waiting too long. Again, starting quarterback out of James Madison, 2022 NFL Draft prospect. Before I bring Cole on, would you be a parent of a high school athlete trying to make it to the next level? If you answered yes, then why not secure coaching for them from an expert? Here at Maverick Sports Consulting, we work with high school athletes of all sports to create a strategy for their recruiting plan. With limited scholarships given each and every year, a pointed recruitment plan helps our clients secure their opportunities to play collegiate sports. We focus on your transcripts, your film, leadership, and more to set your goals and create pathways to get to them. Whether if you want to attend an SEC school or Slippery Rock University, we can support your efforts to get to those goals for 2022. Contact us at Maverick Sports Consulting today. Please join and take a look at mavericksportsconsulting.com. All right, Dave, we're going to bring on Mr. Cole Johnson again, quarterback out of James Madison. Just came off of a dynamic season, All-American, 40-plus touchdowns for one of the FCS powers. And James Madison's doing such great things. They're actually moving up onto the FBS moving forward. Cole, appreciate you for hopping in, man. I know it's a really busy time. Draft process is super hectic, man, but I appreciate you for taking a few minutes with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So, Cole, I want to start you off here, man, because obviously you're a guy that I've known the name for a few years, right? Of course, there was the quarterback that was drafted, Ben DiNucci, that was playing at James Madison, drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the 7th round in 2020 NFL Draft. You came into the season, I think you had like 17 career touchdowns, somewhere in that ballpark. You had seen some time, but then this year, man, 41 touchdowns, a part of this James Madison team. Talk to me a little bit about maybe just a little of your career, kind of staying the course, being patient, and then having that type of breakout season to end your career.
Yeah, I think I had a really unique process throughout my career. Sitting for 4 years is something not many people have to do. Sat behind a couple great quarterbacks, obviously Ben getting drafted by the Cowboys and, excelling in the NFL. And then, that going into that 5th year, it got canceled because of COVID. And then I was playing the spring in a shortened season. And I think towards the end of my season, I started off a little rocky and hadn't played, started in really 4 years. So I kind of progressed throughout that season, and by the end of the season, I felt, I was playing my best football. We ended up having an offensive coordinator change, a quarterback coach change, and I was blessed with a guy named Tino Sinceri. He used to play at University of Pittsburgh, and then he coached around a couple places, and he last coached at Alabama prior to JMU. And he brought a lot of great offensive scheme, and just kind of opened my eyes to offensive strategy and the playbook. And I think that really helped me excel this year and do well.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you did about as well as any quarterback on the FCS level this past year. Cole, let me ask you, because I feel like if for people that haven't maybe seen you too much, I think they're going to kind of see the 6'5", 215-pound frame, and they're going to see the 41 touchdowns and just assume, great pocket passer. You also ran for over 270 yards and 6 more touchdowns. So you had a really good all-around season. Kind of just, if you can just describe for the people that maybe haven't seen you, like what type of quarterback do you consider yourself?
Yeah, I think I like to see myself as a guy who sit in the pocket and make plays with my legs when needed. I don't say I'm a burner, but I do have the athletic ability to get outside of the pocket and get that first down when needed. But I think I play with a lot of touch, accuracy, and I'm an intelligent guy and I'm super competitive, super tough, and I think I'm able to read defenses and execute, on a high level is where I wouldn't say I have the, strongest arm or the most athletic, but, you look at the next level, it's not always what makes you successful. So, I think I play with a lot of touch, accuracy, and good accuracy at all 3 levels. It's kind of what, defines me as a quarterback.
Yeah, it seems like you're, not like Ryan was saying, you're saying you're athletic. And I know in high school you were a 2-sport athlete. You were playing basketball as well as baseball or football. And some of that court might be translating over to your game on the field because of your foot quickness and how you move in the pocket. You're really well balanced as you're moving around the pocket. I also want to talk to you a little bit about playing at James Madison. I mean, that's a storied program for the level it's at. What was your road like getting there, and why did you choose them over other schools while you were making that choice?
Yeah, so coming in, I wasn't a super highly rated recruit. I think I was maybe a 2-star, 3-star. So I had a couple different offers. I had one FBS offer from Temple, but being kind of a Virginia guy close to home, I thought it was a great fit. And, they were on the rise when I was coming up in high school. But to kind of see the transition from, my freshman year when we won the national championship at the FCS level, which kind of a total whirlwind. And you just kind of see us making it a couple times after that and being perennial, deep runs in the playoffs. It's pretty cool to kind of see the expectations change at JMU that, we're expected to either make the national championship or get pretty darn close. And now moving up to FBS, waiting for that right time. I think everybody's kind of waiting, waiting for the right opportunity. And I think that, the Sun Belt, especially that Eastern, section of that Sun Belt has a lot of great teams, App State, Coastal, Marshall. So it'll be a really competitive conference. I'm excited for them.
Cole, do you think, because this is really fascinating, man, because I mean, you are part of the reason, part of a lot of great players for the reason why they are able to make that jump from FCS up to the FBS, like you said, the Sun Belt there. When did you all kind of get the news? Did you kind of have a little bit of an inside look at like, hey, this is going to happen in the future, maybe before the media and all that type of stuff? And just what do you think are going to kind of be some of the things that the FBS is going to find out about James Madison as a program here, kind of making that jump?
Yeah. So it was kind of this past season, in the middle of the season, there was kind of rumors about it. And there were so many different conference changes with, the Big 12, SEC. And I know a lot of our coaches said this is the right time for us with all these different conference changes. So I thought it was a good idea. I think we had the offer a few years ago to get in the Sun Belt, but I don't think it was quite what it was now in terms of, the football level. So we kind of found out, and unfortunately, we kind of called all the athletic teams together at JMU, and there's a rule in the CAA, where we played in, that no other athletic teams, when you announce your decision to kind of change conferences, that they can't compete for conference championships. Which, fortunately for us, we were still able to do that. But everybody else playing right now can't compete for a conference championship, which is really unfortunate for a lot of those seniors. But I think what you get with JMU is a very tough, very disciplined, team that'll play great on both sides of the ball. It has playmakers, at all positions. So I think you've seen the culture grow as far as just a winning culture at JMU, and I think it'll continue at the next level.
Cole, I really am a big fan of this FCS group that's taking their games to the next level. I mean, we just saw a plethora of offensive linemen from the FCS playing the Senior Bowl. We got Chris Oladokin, who's another great quarterback that was at the NFLPA Bowl. I know you're one of the top FCS players just in general coming out this year. Talk to me a little bit about being an FCS football player and kind of seeing this rise, because there were a couple years down, last couple years where due to like the COVID shutdown, the extra year of eligibility, some players transferring up, like the numbers were really down. But I think that this year is huge for FCS football, showing that, again, we can continue to really put out really nice talent into the next level.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's something I've kind of learned throughout my career is if you look at the top to bottom of FCS, I definitely don't think the level of competition is definitely near as FBS. But you look at the top of FCS, there's some really, really good teams. That you look at North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State. Those teams can compete with a lot of FBS teams and would do great in a different FBS conference. So, I think on that level, there's some really, really talented guys who get a little overlooked. Obviously, we're getting a little more looks with Carson Wentz, Trey Lance, especially the quarterback, position, doing well in the NFL. So I think we've gotten a little more credit and a little more eyes on us in the past probably 5-10 years. But there is a little bit of a knock on a guy who's FCS and doesn't play as great competition.
Now, talking about the next level, I mean, coming out this year, you're one of the top taller quarterbacks. I know back when I was, in the day, it was pretty easy to find a 6'4" quarterback, 6'5" guy, But nowadays, it seems like a lot of these quarterbacks are 6'3" and under, a lot of 6'2" and 6'1" guys that are out there. What are some teams talking to you about being one of the taller quarterbacks, and how are you handling that adjustment as they're talking to you with it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the pros I have. I think I thought I was closer to 6'5", but they measured me 6'0", 4'3". So I think it definitely helps seeing over a taller line. I don't know how some of these guys who are so shorter can see. Sometimes I've struggled to see over a taller line. So I can't believe some of these guys are 5'11", 6 foot. Looking over guys who are 6'7". But I think it's definitely a pro, and I think there's a lot of intangibles I have as far as this toughness, competitiveness, leadership. That goes along with the height and what I've shown on film that I hope will make me valuable to a NFL franchise.
Hey, Cole, can you take me a little bit through the draft process? I know you had your pro day. You've been obviously training. I think you've been training with Anthony Morelli, if I had that correct, right? Former Penn State quarterback.
Yep.
So you've been putting the work in. I'm sure it's been a long and daunting process, of course, as it always is. But just take me through a little bit of some of your favorite moments from your draft process and just what you kind of been up to.
Yeah. So right after the season, we end our season at North Dakota State, and had about a couple weeks before I head to the Tropical Bowl in Orlando, and played well there. And it was a really cool experience. I get to meet a lot of guys, either played against or, you saw at the FCS level and at the FBS level as well. And I did play well in that game and got to learn from a offensive system that is similar to NFL. And then I went from there to Indianapolis, or right above Indianapolis, Carmel, Westfield area. And I trained for about a month and a half, working on my script for my pro day and working 40, shuttle, all that stuff. Obviously, pro day training. And end of March, I had my pro day. And I thought it went pretty well. I had about 25 of the 32 teams there. And it's been a very unique process. Now you got to wait for about a month to hopefully hear your name called or get that call from somebody. So, you prepare for 2 months for one day and then you wait another month. So something you don't usually, as a quarterback and as a guy who's played football for the last 6 years, you used to week by week things, but definitely a lot of waiting and just keeping in shape right now.
Now, how are you staying in shape at this point? Like, are you back home? Are you with mom and dad? Is mom's cooking kicking in, or is it more you're still training at the facility, staying there? Also, can you take us through the selection process of your agent and how you went through? Who is your agent, and then how did you go through the selection process?
For sure. Yeah. So I'm back home in Virginia Beach right now. Great to have my brother who's actually going through the same process. He played at the University of Albany as a tackle. So we're kind of going through a similar process and get to bounce things off each other and keep into shape. I have a trainer here. I go to the local rec center and then have a couple guys I throw with and playing pickup basketball, doing anything to keep in shape. Try to keep healthy, obviously, but a lot of great cooking. I weighed in about 220 on my pro day, and I think that's a big thing. I'm a slighter build, so weighing 225, 230 by the time I get to a camp will, I think, help my durability. But just kind of a lot of weighting and a lot of working out. But it's nice. No homework and no classes right now, which is very nice. But
Yeah.
As far as my agent, it was a unique process to go through. As far as a lot of guys hitting you up, and a lot of them will tell you lies or kind of throw things out there that whether that's who you can train with, what bowl they can get you in, who they can talk to. So you kind of got to weed through a lot of that. And I thought I went with a guy, Austin Fenninger, who had a great plan for me. And he, seemed like he only took a couple guys, and a really upstanding guy, and he worked super hard for me. So looking back on it, I think, if I would have chose the wrong agent, it would have been bad. But I feel, obviously hindsight's 2020, but I feel right my decision.
Yeah, and obviously I'm close with Austin, which is how this all got kind of set up. So Austin kind of shared with me, Cole, that you had a recent conversation, I believe, with the Tennessee Titans yesterday, man. So obviously you're having a little bit of nice conversations. Can you let us in just maybe some of the teams you've been talking to and just how those conversations have been overall?
Yeah, so I'd say the top kind of three teams would be the Chargers, the Colts, and the Eagles. And then I've heard a little bit from Ravens, Titans, and some other teams, the Commanders. But from what I understand, there's even some teams, a lot of teams won't talk to you before they even draft you or pick you up or sign you undrafted. I think I was talking to somebody who talked to Teron Armstead, and he had 29 of the 32 teams contact him, and one of those three was the Saints, and they ended up drafting him. So it's a very kind of weird process how that happens, but I think I have some good feedback, and just hoping I can get to a camp. I'd love to get drafted, but getting to a camp would be great.
David, can you take us through that process a little bit? Because that's a good point from Cole there, is the fact that, like, sometimes guys will kind of not show their interest, right? It's like a poker game. You don't want to show your hand a little bit. And you being a person, David, obviously that was in those war rooms, was in the scouting departments. Is that a real thing? Are you not showing your hand?
Well, we did it a little different at the Raiders in different places I've been. Typically, we threw a huge blanket. And so when they heard we were talking to somebody, they weren't like, "Oh, that's special," because they talked to it was more like they talked to everybody. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of how we kept our hands, because our coaches, we would give a list of 10 to 20 players. So the coaches would call those 20 players or so. And then the scouts, we would all call our players from our area. And then we would do cross checks. So whoever you cross check, you would call as well. So most people were like, "Oh, I've talked to the Raiders 3 times or 4 times." You know what I mean? And then they're like, "Yeah, they talked to everybody." And that's how people didn't know really what we were doing, and then they thought they would indicate which coaches were talking, and if your coach called them. So then we just upped the coach level of conversations from like 20 to 30. So it was like, well, yeah, if they're talking to these 30 tackles, good luck trying to figure out which one they're going to take, right?
That's smart.
That's how we kind of did it. We just worked a little bit more than what other people would do, got more information, but it actually helped us a lot when we were making decisions in the 7th round in that key free agent that we were signing versus when we were inviting to rookie minicamp. Because at that point, the coaches had a feel for the person we were talking about. Mr. Davis had the research that he needed. Each scout had their opinion on that person. So it wasn't like there was just one guy in the room beating a table for somebody. There was 2 or 3 guys going, "No, we really like this guy. Let's draft him, or let's sign him after the draft. We really like this guy," And that helped us in those situations, in those conversations, to make sure we were putting the best players possible into the locker room and loading up the competition for the coaches and for Mr. Davis as much as possible.
I love that. So we have some teams that don't want to show their hand at all, and some teams that show everybody the hand, so that they don't know what's happening. I love
Yeah,
that,
it's
man.
like
That's
52
fantastic.
card pickup.
I love that. I love that. Cole, I guess my last question for you, man, is you mentioned already your brother's kind of going through the same process a little bit. We're only 16 days away from the draft. Like you said, might get drafted, might not, but you're kind of just enjoying the process. Where will you be watching the draft? Will you be at home? Like, what's just kind of the plans for the draft in general?
Yeah, I'll be at home in Virginia Beach, have my family around me, and get to watch it. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So, whether my name's called or not on either draft day or, end up getting a call for signing a contract for undrafted free agent, I think anyway, I'll be blessed in this position. It's cool to coming into college. That's something you dream of as going through your pro day and having the chance at the NFL. So now I'm here and just kind of soaking it all in. It's such a blessing, and excited to go through it.
All right. Well, again, joined by Cole Johnson, quarterback out of James Madison, 2022 NFL draft prospect. Cole, we really appreciate you for joining the show for a few minutes, man. I'm sure going to be keeping ahead of the process a little bit. Make sure I see, who picks you up or who drafts you. I'm excited for you, man. So thank you so much for taking some time with us tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Absolutely. Cole. Appreciate you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, David. I really like that kid, by the way, man. He's a
couldn't tell at all.
I'm just saying, man, like he's got a good head on his shoulder. He's got the size, obviously. He's just a really good decision maker all the way around. And I mean, I love it for the fact that like he had to go through adversity a little bit throughout his career, right? He was kind of sitting behind some really good guys. Only came in the year again, 17 career touchdown passes coming into this fall. He throws 41 touchdowns in one season, Dave, with only 4 interceptions. So, like, ending your career off on the right foot, right? I mean, I think he completed like 68% of his passes, nearly 4,000 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. So, like, stuff the stat sheet, man. And anytime you're making that jump from FCS to potentially making a roster with the NFL, you have to stand out. And he certainly stood out.
Well, yeah, year. I mean, not only in his numbers, but being like you heard over 6'4" in this draft class. A lot of his competition in this draft class aren't that tall. Like that was my point. And then, like you said, the production's there. The completion percentage is nearly 70%. So, I mean, you're looking at a guy who's got the numbers like you. Again, it says padding the stat sheet and putting it all together his senior year when he got his opportunity. I mean, he's a perfect type of player that, on the third day you draft, you bring in, you develop him, you get some more, time with coaches and then a pro scheme, not such a spread out scheme. And then boom, here you go. You can really have a prospect that filled himself out, and he's only 22 or 23 years old. So, he's got time to do that. And like, sitting 4 years, he doesn't have a lot of pitches on the arm, as Gettleman would say. He doesn't have a lot of pitches on the arm.
Would Gettleman say that? Would he actually say that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, and therefore, you got a fresh arm over there. He can still bring that because you got a fresh arm. So
where was Gettleman from? What is that accent?
Boston.
That's a Boston accent. That's he's from Boston, like Brian Kelly. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Don't ever compare him to Brian Kelly again. I'll fly to New Jersey and slit your throat.
Oh man, we have to talk at some point about Brian Kelly, man. He's still doing a lot of weird stuff even after he left Notre Dame. So
he's just a weird person.
Well,
he's just a weird person. And going down south to recruit is going to be a complete bumbling idiot.
Well,
bumbling idiot.
I mean, kind of like the brief, because I don't want to go like super in depth about it, but basically what he did was he came out with these quotes yesterday or a few days ago that basically said like he didn't say it word for word, obviously, but he basically said that the talent at Notre Dame was the reason that he didn't win. Basically.
And again, he's an idiot. He's a true idiot.
Not arguing.
Okay? So, I mean, we're just going to watch him fail. He got a huge contract.
Sure did.
He'll wind up being a TV personality in 3 years when he gets fired from there and he's still getting paid for fucking,
Does he have the name? Does he have the personality for TV, though? Like, does he actually? Like, I could see
his
even
agent will get him some kind of TV deal, bro.
even though Ed Orgeron doesn't have the voice for TV, I feel like he has the personality for TV. You know what I mean? Like I could see
You
it.
can't
Coach
understand
Owen
the
on there.
Cajun. You can't understand the Cajun. You don't know
Well,
what he's saying.
well, haven't you heard Brian Kelly recently, man? He's got a Southern twang all of a sudden. So
Yeah, it's all false. He's just a freaking false leprechaun.
oh, it's so funny. Well,
Over here on TikTok, guy wants us to talk about Kenny Pickett.
Okay, we'll talk about Kenny Pickett after Chris Oladokin, who's about to come on with us. Again, quarterback out of South Dakota State, started his career at South Florida, ended up at Samford, which he was a really talented player, really successful player at Samford, ends up this final year at South Dakota State. Before we bring on Chris, have you secured any sponsorships with your name, image, and likeness yet? No. Well, what's keeping you from earning money or gaining products today? Probably access to companies. Maverick Sports Consulting can connect those dots for you. We believe in the power of athletes making a living off of their own likeness while going to college. If it's simply that you don't have access to companies, don't let that keep you from being successful. Contact us at Maverick Sports Consulting so we can help you navigate your path to gaining corporate sponsorships for your collegiate career. An athlete's earning potential is limited. Why wait until tomorrow to start earning today? It doesn't matter what sport you play. We help all our clients achieve their goals. Just contact us at Maverick Sports Consulting. TikTok, the clock is ticking. So again, David, we have another quarterback coming on now. We got Mr. Chris Oladokin, again, quarterback out of South Dakota State. Chris, appreciate you for hopping on, man.
How's it going, guys? Appreciate you guys for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for coming on. We have the Slinger Show tonight. We should have just labeled this one the Slinger Show.
Yeah, Chris, we just had Cole Johnson on from James Madison, obviously another quarterback. Nice. We just need to get Cole Kelly on here. We'll get a couple of the other quarterbacks, Cam Ward, maybe out of Incarnate Word. Like we need to get some of these guys, man.
All the FCS guys for sure.
Yeah, man.
Well, pumping you guys up. You're going to be making an impact at the next level. We got to let people. We got to let our fans know who you are right now, right here, right now. Let's go.
For sure.
Well, Chris, I really was excited to get you on here, man, because I know I hit you up pretty late. Was happy that me and your agent was able to kind of, work this out really quickly because you're a player that obviously, again, South Dakota State, great program on the FCS level. You started a little bit at Samford, started your career at South Florida. I want to kind of go through a little bit of everything, but you obviously got to participate at the NFLPA Bowl out in Pasadena. Just want to ask you about your process real quick, the draft process, and just maybe take us through a little bit of step-by-step of what you've been up to this offseason.
Yeah, well, the draft process has been great for sure. I sort of going into it, speaking with my agent and, my family and stuff, I felt like it was a huge 3 months for me to, sort of climb up draft boards. And, obviously the first step in that was the NFLPA Bowl. And that was just a really great opportunity to go out there and show, scouts in person, what I can do and what I have to offer, as far as my versatility with my arm and my legs, and, being able to move the pocket and create explosive plays. So it was a great week down out there in California, and got back, worked out down here in Tampa, where I'm from, at House of Athlete with Yo Murphy. Did a great job. Had a phenomenal offseason. Putting on the necessary weight and maintaining my speed and correcting some things with rotationally to make me even that much better. In the passing game as well. So did that the past 3 months, had a successful pro day with my guys out there, guys like, Pierre, Don Gardner, Michael Griffin, got to, hit the field with them one last time. So that was really good and really special to go back up to Brookings for, I was there for about a week. So that was really special. And then the past, couple of weeks, it's all just been about, visits and workouts and, talking to coaches and just sort of, get into the swing of things. It's pretty surreal, to be in this, sort of situation, just because a lot of people didn't think I really would be in it, the past year or two. So, I just sort of kept my head down and kept working.
Chris, did I hear that you're working out with Yo Murphy, former St. Louis Ram? Yo Murphy, is that the Yo Murphy I know? Oh, man.
Yes, sir. The GOAT.
I haven't heard that.
Homer, knock it off.
I am a Rams fan, man. I haven't heard that name in a minute. I'm like, yes, Yo Murphy. That is fantastic.
You see him geeking out right now? You see him over here, Chris? Just geeking out. Look at the size of that smile on his face.
He should be. Yo Murphy is the GOAT down here when it comes to, speed and training and stuff. So I've been working out with him, ever since about high school. So, it's pretty special. All the people that I've sort of had in my corner as far as training with, Yo Murphy, and then my quarterback coach, John Caleo, are people that I've known, most of my life. So
I love it, man. I love it. Well, Chris, before I let David get his question in, I want to ask you a little bit about your transitions, man. Because like you said, you're a Florida guy. You go down, you play football at South Florida originally. You go to Sanford, then you go all the way up to Brookings, South Dakota, like you just said, man. You are a well-traveled guy. You've been a little bit everywhere, man. Take us through a little bit of, just kind of your college career as far as like places you've been. And I mean, it had to be a little bit, I don't want to say weird. I don't know if weird's the right word, but like going all the way up to South Dakota to play your last year of football, man, had to be a little bizarre.
That's adjustment, isn't it?
It was definitely.
How big of a coat did you buy before you went up there? I just want to know that.
Oh, they gave me one when I got there. So I needed it because I didn't own anything like that down here. It's just tank tops and bathing suits. So, but obviously started my career at South Florida, played 3 seasons there. That was always, one of my dreams, being in high school, being able to be a hometown QB and, playing some games and start some games for them. So that was really special for me. The time came where it's time for me to move on, and I ended up at Sanford University for, a year and a half. And that was also another good step in my life. I sort of look at that transition, I matured, going from South Florida to Sanford, and, I made a lot of great friends at both places. And then, our fall season got canceled going into spring. Things just sort of didn't work out, the way I thought they would. And, at the end of the day, I've always sort of believed in myself and bet on myself when I feel like others haven't. So, going into, my last season, I was like, man, I want to compete for a championship and compete to be the guy. And, thankfully enough, I was sort of just training down here in Tampa one day. And then I was actually supposed to go to Florida A&M. And, South Dakota State came calling, a couple of days after the national championship. And for me, I was sitting on the couch here with my mom, and I was like, am I really about to move to South Dakota? And, a couple of days later, I was living in Brookings, South Dakota. So it was definitely a great experience. I can't say enough great things about, the program and, the people of Brookings. They definitely changed my life for the better. It was something that I needed. And, just seeing myself mature from the time I was 18 years old to, now 24-year-old man, it's been, it's been great.
With your journey and how it continues all the way through, obviously the draft and the NFL, who's your inner circle? How did you choose your inner circle of friends or family or agent even to help you make decisions as you're moving through navigating all these waters?
I have a close inner circle, of guys I went to high school with here in Tampa. And, they've always been in my circle, always been in my corner, no matter, if I was a starting quarterback, second string quarterback, they've always been, in my corner and sort of believed in me and pushed in me. Obviously, my family's been huge with that. I have a little brother that also plays college football. So he looks up to me, but he doesn't even know I look up to him just as much. So if I were to ever, quit or, doubt myself, that'd be a bad reflection and, bad leadership on my part. So that's definitely my core circle. And then, I've made really close friends, at South Florida, my roommate at South Florida, and then a couple of my close friends from Sanford were also guys, that I went to, when, adversity would hit, and sort of just talk things over with them. And they were always right there by my side and, stuck with me through the end. I had guys down here buying ESPN Plus accounts left and right in Tampa and in Birmingham just to watch the Jacks play. So, to have that, core group and have that tight circle is really important to me.
Now, when you were moving through the waters and navigating them for your agent, how did that go? Because obviously you were a hot name, really quick, and people, rising up the draft boards as well. How everybody and their mother was probably calling you. So how did you go through the process? We love to have our listeners, especially the young guys and gals that are going through processes, right? Like last night was just the WNBA draft, right? How do these young women and men go through the process like you went through? Give them a little tip. Give them a little bit of what you did.
Man, you know what they say about sliding in the DMs and stuff like that. And agents are definitely not afraid to slide in the DMs. You'll people you've never seen or heard of before, and then all of a sudden they come out of the woodworks and sign your DMs about what they can provide for you and this and that. And, for younger people just listening, a lot of the times I think you just sort of got to be able to weed out, the stuff that, doesn't really matter because, they're going to try to show off all the glitz and glamour and things like that. But I actually met my agent, through my quarterback coach that I've been working with since I was 10 years old. Someone that he really trusts and someone he's always looked to. And he's also a guy that represents, another quarterback from Tampa. So I love keeping things, in a circle, in a sense of, if I know someone that knows you and someone that I really trust and go to for opinions, and they say, you're a good dude, a good person, have genuine intentions, that's sort of what I was looking for. So, he's from Tampa. He's from literally right around the block where I live. He's based in Chicago now, but he's really done a tremendous job with me, this off season, just working with me and, sort of believing in me.
Chris, obviously I'm a draft nerd, man, so I've dug deep into this class. I've already started digging into 2023. I didn't want to tell David that because he was going to shun me. But
Hey, seriously, can we mute his mic? Can we mute his mic?
We only got a couple more weeks of 2022, and then you'll be the first one on 2023.
That's it, man. I'm already starting in, brother. So I wanted to ask you a little bit. Shut up. You don't know how. So
I wish I did.
South Dakota State, obviously, everyone knows Pierre Strong Jr., which you mentioned already a little bit, right? I know Aaron Johnson's already a part of the process, talented offensive tackle, but like these guys, man, over the next couple years, it's not just going to be this year. Like Tucker Kraft is a tight end that I keep popping on film, and I'm just like, who is that guy? I don't know how to pronounce the wide receiver's name, Jank or Janky. I don't.
Yeah, the Yankees. Yeah,
Yankees. Wow, I was so off. I was nowhere near what their actual name was.
That's a surprise for you. Usually, I'm the butcher when it comes to names.
Right. Well, you got the Yankees as well. They're very talented. I'll tell you what, man. I was watching Pierre Strong Jr. actually earlier, and I'm like, who is this Ryan Greenfield kid at right tackle? Like, this kid is a fantastic football player. Talk to me a little bit of just about the talent that you have, man, because I know at South Dakota State, because I know everyone's going to talk about Pierre Strong Jr. He went to the combine, ran 4.37, fantastic player, obviously. But like the Yankees, Tucker Kraft, offensive lineman you have, Isaiah Davis is a dude as well at running back that I didn't even mention, man. Like, there's so much talent on that offensive side of the football at South Dakota State.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially being a Florida kid, everyone, including myself, believes, Florida has the best high school football in the country. And then, you sort of go up to South Dakota and you're like, do these kids even play football? And, like, sort of what's the deal? And then, I got there and, you just talked about it all the time, Isaiah Davis, another back that's going to be in the league right behind Pierre. You talked about the Yankee twins, Jaden and Jackson. Took me about a week to figure out which one was Jaden, which one was Jackson. But once I got their numbers down and who was who, that was a no-brainer. But they're homegrown, they're South Dakota kids through and through. And just to see the talent they have and how hard they work is really surprising. Then obviously you go to the offensive line, my guy, Garrett Greenfield, G Square. He's I think he's the next big offensive lineman to come out of the FCS. And I think I saw you tweet about that earlier. He's just a beast on the field, and then an even better dude off the field. And then you look at our right guard, Mason McCormick is another guy that I think is going to be a really good draft prospect in next year's draft. And I can't thank those guys enough because they kept me relatively clean the entire year. So for them to be on my side, I was pretty happy. And you mentioned Tucker Kraft. I think Tucker Kraft's going to be one of the best tight ends in the draft, FCS or FBS. And I don't even think he realizes how good he can actually be because his potential is just crazy, and the things he can do with the ball in his hands and how he blocks so well. So they definitely got it cooking up there in Brookings. I'm excited for my boy Mark Gronowski to get back in the fold too, and at quarterback. So I'll be watching the Jacks pretty closely for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, not often that you lose a potential draftable quarterback here, and you just have a guy like Gronowski that's going to come in who was sensational last spring, and then of course he had the leg injury that he had to sit out the season. But I mean, like you said, man, I think I said Ryan Greenfield before. Ryan's such a great first name if you couldn't tell. So Garrett Greenfield. I did tweet that earlier though, David. I was watching him, man.
I'm like, pay attention to your Twitter account. Let's just be honest.
You should. Okay? You should pay attention to my Twitter account. A lot of good nuggets on there, man.
Okay. If I want
a lot of good nuggets, man.
I'll go to People Magazine. Whatever.
Yeah, a lot of good nuggets on there, man. I'll tell you what, though, David. I'm going to try to get Garrett Greenfield on here next year, man, because I'm telling you. I texted an agent, Chris, just between us, man. I'm like, this kid's better.
We're live on all these platforms.
This kid, I was like, this kid from the right tackle for South Dakota State's better than that Radens kid that came out of North Dakota State a couple years ago, in my opinion. Like, the kid's really good. So I love that you kind of mentioned him. I mean, Tucker Kraft, man, like that's the next Dallas Goddard, right? Like we've already seen the dude come out.
He is the next Dallas Goddard. I don't know what they're feeding, or I know what they're feeding kids in South Dakota now. It's just straight beef, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure Tucker Kraft has like an NIL deal, like beef deal now, where like he gets all this beef, and so it makes sense why he's like, 255, 260 and runs a 4.5. It's absurd. So.
Yeah, I mean, because I went into the season because I was like, from the spring, I was like, you guys have another tight end, Zach Hines, right?
Zach Hines, 6'7", 265, catches everything. The amount of weapons, and then they also get back Landon Wolf this year. Unfortunately, he got hurt, in our first game versus Colorado State, and it would have been great to have him as well. But I'm excited to watch him play as well. So I mean, I keep thinking about it. The weapons they have this year, I mean, definitely expecting big things up there in Brookings.
David, I'm telling you, man, you need to go watch some of that first game, especially. They blew the doors off of Colorado State, man. They blew the doors off of them. It was fantastic, man.
Yeah, that was a great game.
My big takeaway from tonight is that, South Dakota State is just putting feed bags on their players, just putting feed bags on them.
Hey.
Well, I should have gone there all 6 years then. That would help me out a little bit.
Now, what teams are now? We're in draft season. We're deep into it. Obviously, 16 days away from the draft. Which teams have taken the most interest in you? Because I got a couple ideas of teams that I'm after watching your game a little bit and learning more about you. I got a couple ideas of some teams that probably are in the front.
I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear what teams you think. There's definitely been a lot of teams that are, showing a lot of interest, that have, sort of kept in contact or, worked me out or, had visits or whatnot. But, I'm interested to see what everyone else thinks for sure.
Well, if I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that teams such as the Browns over down in Houston, potentially with the offense that they're putting in, up in Denver, teams that are more even the Jets would take an interest in someone like you, even though they have a young quarterback. Obviously, Seattle would make a lot of sense up there with my friend who's the offense coordinator there. You fit his style of offense, and even Ryan's team, the Rams, make a lot of sense for their offense and what you do and how you are. So I'm just not sure if those are in the forefront or not, but those are the kind of teams that I was thinking.
And draft. One thing I have learned about draft season is it is crazy. There can be a team that hasn't talked to you for 2.5 months, and then all of a sudden they show up and want to work you out, or all of a sudden they call your phone and you just get a random area code pops up, and next thing you know you're on a meeting with the quarterback coach. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So I just sort of try to stay on my toes, and then I guess we'll see what's going to happen here in about 2.5 weeks.
Chris, did you have? I know I'm speaking more, I guess, from your experience. I know usually the weird question type of thing is usually more of a combine thing, but has there been any I don't want to say puzzling questions, but have you gotten some weird ones where you're just kind of that's a strange question for a team to ask me? It's just a little bit of an odd one.
No, honestly, I haven't. And I've sort of been trying to look out for them just because I always read every single year. Just reading draft articles and stuff about the crazy, absurd questions people get. And then I've sort of been waiting on one. I sort of want to get a weird question so I can answer it. But, I haven't gotten one yet.
Well, we have a former NFL scout in the building. So David, do you want to give him a weird one?
Oh, I can give him a good one. And then
good one. Give him a good one. Give him a good one instead. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Okay. House is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, dad, sisters, pets, everybody's out of the house. You have enough time. The fireman looks at you and says, you have enough time, son, to run in there and get one thing. What's the one thing you're running into the burning building to get?
Oof. Man. Everyone's out of the house already? That's a good one.
Everybody's out of the house, all pets, everything's out. You got one chance to go in there and grab one thing. It's enough time to get it. What are you running into a burning building to get?
I feel like you got to go in and get your iPhone charger because I'm already going to have my phone in my pocket already. So I got my phone covered. Then you get your charger in case your phone's about to die, so you can plug it in because you got to call someone to, put out the fire. And then if you have your phone, you're good. You can replace everything else, shoes, and you can replace the phone. But I'd rather not. So I'll probably have my iPhone charger.
How do you do, David? Did he pass?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely it's a question that it's actually an old Army Ranger question. I learned it from Mike Sullivan. The Army Rangers always ask that question on a questionnaire to see if you were going to have an answer that would pass their mustard or not.
Yeah.
So it's always a good question to ask because I've gotten some
Yeah.
weird answers. I've literally got some weird answers from that.
I feel like someone would say something stupid like, I don't know, like a granola bar, like toilet paper, like something
I've
that's really
gotten
not that. Like,
PlayStations. I've gotten just stupid stuff, and I'm just like,
my whole thing is, why are you going to take a PlayStation? Because obviously you don't have anywhere to play it now. You just have a PlayStation with no TV, so it doesn't really make much sense.
Exactly.
That's a great point. I'm gonna run in and get my Jordans that my agent just bought me, and I'm just like,
oh, did he say
get my chain?
Did he say that my agent just bought me? Did he say that?
Yeah.
I might need to talk to my agent and get me some Jordans then, because I haven't seen them yet.
Right.
Oh no! Again, you get some funny answers when you ask the questions like that. I mean, I have heard some really bizarre and offensive questions that I look at people like. I was at a school one time. Now I don't know if you know this school or not, but it's Southern Utah. And now Southern Utah, 90% of the student body and most of the staff are Mormons. This is the makeup of the school, right? An agent, or not an agent, a little scout, I shouldn't say little, a young scout, walked into the room, and he doesn't know where he is. And he goes and asks the pro liaison, okay, let's say this guy's going to kill somebody. Is he a guy who's going to use a knife, or is he going to be a guy who uses a gun?
Yeah.
And the pro liaison looks at him like, I'm not going to answer that question. It's offensive. And the kid goes, no, but I want to know, will he get up close, be personal with it, or would he take a distance? And I'm like, I finally said, I just grabbed the kid by the arm. I said, we don't ask those questions. And he looked at me. I said, if another word comes out of your mouth, I'm going to fucking hit you. So, and I know the pro liaison because the pro liaison's a former Raider, and I was with him at the Raiders. And I just apologized to Teague. I was like, Teague, I'm sorry. I'll take this kid outside. I'll take care of it. But it's like, you got to know where you're at, man. If you want that, you could say, hey, if I put him in the fighting pit with one of your other top players who's coming out, see how tough he is, whatever.
Yeah.
But you can't go into that school, that environment, and say that question,
especially when you get into death and stuff like that. It's a little weird.
It's
a little dark.
You got to know your place. You got to know where you're at. Yeah.
For sure. It's very dark. Well, Chris, I know you've given us a lot of time, man. I guess my last question for you is only, I think, 16 days away as we're recording here from the NFL draft. Just want to hear about what plans you have as far as, who you'll be with, where you'll be watching the NFL draft when you finally kicks off, and maybe just a little bit about how much of a blessing it's going to be, man, if you do hear your name called.
I'll definitely be down here in Tampa, with my friends, with my close friends and my family. Be a very select group on who I'm with, just because, I'll probably be a little anxious that day, just because you don't know where you're going, obviously, where you're living. But it's definitely an exciting time. Definitely blessed to be in the position I'm in, with so many great people around me. And, it's just going to be, a great day to not only, obviously celebrate me and my achievements, but, all the people that poured in a lot of work and, a lot of sacrifice, get me to this point. And so, I'm just going to be really thankful and blessed for the opportunity. When I hear my name called, I'm big into manifestation. So, it's gonna manifest that, I hear my name called, and we'll see what happens.
I love it. So again, Chris Oladokun, quarterback out of South Dakota State, 2022 NFL draft prospect, and also a participant in this year's NFLPA Bowl. Chris, appreciate this again, man. Best of luck on draft day. This was fantastic. Just giving us a few minutes, man. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys for having me on, for sure.
Thanks, Chris. Best of luck to you.
See you, Chris.
Thank you. See you.
David, I know we have a lot of great interviews on here, man. I'll say that kid is a quarterback right there, man. He's just got a it's very personable kind of feel to him, but then also kind of like an infectious personality. You know what I mean? Like easy guy to talk to, in my opinion.
I think if you put him in the room with Russell Wilson, I mean, I think that would be a fun room to be in. Like, that'd be a great dynamic between him and Russ, and then let him grow behind Russ and potentially maybe take over one day, and that would be a really good room for him to be in, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, like I said, man, he's not the biggest kid in the world, but he's got that kind of dynamic dual threat to him. He's a really nice athlete. He's been a guy that's been consistent as far as like completion percentage, not turning the football over a ton. So like when you do those things, that's how you're rosterable, right? Like guys that will come into a game potentially as a backup early on and won't kill you. Like they can keep you afloat and they can do some stuff with their legs, with their arms. So big fan of Chris Oladokun. Fantastic interview. Also fantastic interview with Cole Johnson. David, we have about 10 minutes left. I want to give this the time it deserves, honestly, because I know you wanted to kind of just keep this to a brief little stint, man. But like, I don't want to just buzz through this because obviously a tragedy happened a couple days ago. We learned that Dwayne Haskins, unfortunately, was killed. Training down in the state of Florida, was hit by a dump truck, if I remember that correctly, and was killed, only 24 years old. So why don't you start us off, just kind of give some brief thoughts, and then we can kind of, I don't want to dissect it, but I just want to kind of talk about just, obviously I think it deserves a little more attention than just like 10, 15 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I appreciate it because, I was sitting back and I heard the news over the weekend, right? And I was with my daughter and I let it soak in. Reached out to some friends from the organizations where he had been and kind of was like, what's going on here? Because it's kind of the whole situation is weird. Like why is he jogging on that highway? Why is he trying to cross the highway? Then reports came out that he was walking to the airport. And then people were trying to say that it was of his own causes that he did it, himself. He jumped out into the middle. And I was just like, it doesn't add up because going through the draft process with him and, talking with him and everything, he was a pretty happy kid. And he was a guy that, was excited about his future, his role. I know he had I want to say a daughter. And so, he had a baby that he was a dad to that he was very proud of. Um, this wasn't something. And I got a couple calls from some of our friends in the media about what I knew and this and that. And I told them, hey, y'all might want to tread lightly until the facts come out on what really happened because if he had just like these kind of I didn't see it in pictures, but if he had any like headphones on and he was jogging and maybe the dump truck guy just swayed or swerved or something and hit him, I mean, we don't know all the facts. And I can't stand the rush to media, but rush to be first, get something out and mistreat the ending of a man's life the way it got treated right away. All this speculation crap came out and it really made me angry because we don't know the facts. We don't know what happened. And, we have nothing. And you're just out there flailing around, putting words out there into the media just to be first.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a man who lost his life, and
24
whatever.
years old, man.
Yeah,
24 years old.
24 years old, a very talented young man.
Mhm.
Probably went to the worst team that he could have went to. The Washington football team did him no justice, by bringing him to that organization. He was a guy who came from the area, who had a lot of friends in the area that, were weighing on him, that were tugging him in directions, that were trying to get him to go do negative things. It would have been way better if another organization somewhere else drafted him and took him into their family and got him away from that whole scenario. I thought going to Pittsburgh was a great restart for him. It's an incredible organization to be part of. I know he took the Mitchell Trubisky signing kind of rough because he thought he was going to be in the mix, and he still was. I just think Mitchell Trubisky signing was a way for them to say, okay, now we got 3 arms in camp. Let's let them weigh themselves out and play themselves out. It's not like they signed Mitchell and then cut him. It was just a way like, hey, kid, if you want to be the guy, you got to go train and be the guy. And
Right.
I thought him going to Florida, doing that, having his teammates around him. I think, Claypool was down there working with him and others. And I thought it was a great move by him, showed maturity to not go home and just hang out. He went down to Florida and was doing what he should have been doing, which was training with his teammates.
Sure.
So, again, the mishandling of the media, the just absolute disregard for a man's life, the way they treated him really angered me. And that's why I told you tonight I wanted to talk about it because it's a tragedy. And I don't care what skin color a person is or what gender a person is, what they identify as. A man lost his life, a person, a father, a son, lost their life at 24 years old. I know my 16-year-old, I mean, if I lost him like that, it would rip my guts out, you know? I mean, here's a man who's a millionaire, who's made all this money, and he lost his life in a tragic accident. And the way it's being mistreated, and from mainstream media, it just really upset me. It really angered me. And I was like, I can't not say anything, but how to say something. I wanted to do it here on the show versus turn to social media and push stuff out there. And, I want to be heard. So thank you for giving me some time to hear it. I'd love to hear you put your 2 cents into it.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, because I don't want it to get lost, a part of what I'm going to say next, just rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. It's a tragedy, man. Like, it really is. It's 24 years old, and he has, like you said, there's been some difficulties early on in his career, and by all accounts, he's just been kind of trying to do the best that he can. And at any person at 24 years old, like, that is just a tragedy, man. Like, it really is. It makes me very sad. Like, it really does. When I saw it, I was just like, because everybody just started talking about, quarterback. Like, who cares what he did for a living? Like, who cares about the profession? He was 24 years old, man. He had so much more to do in his life. It didn't matter what spectrum he was in. He was only 24 years old. I would have, like, that would be me dying 6 years ago. Like, it's nuts,
again,
man. Like,
the young man we just had on here is 24 years old, and he's going to the NFL draft. Same age as Dwayne. Dwayne spent he came out when he was 21 years old.
Yes. Yeah. He was just finished up his 3rd year. So
I mean, this is a man that, like you said, is at the beginning, not the end.
Yeah. And I want to talk mostly about the media side of it. I just wanted to kind of put those thoughts out there for a second, because, like, at the end of the day, man, like, it's just a tragedy that it happens. The first thing we see is Adam Schefter put out a tweets, and the wording went viral, and he went back on on the Adam Schefter show, or Adam Schefter podcast, whatever it's called, and issued an apology. It was a half-ass apology, in my opinion. Like, I didn't buy any part of it. Basically what the whole story is, for the people that didn't see it, basically, he says Dwayne Haskins, former Ohio State star, who struggled to find his footing with 2 different teams. It's like, why is that a headline, man? Why is that a part of the headline right now? Why can't you say former NFL quarterback and Ohio State star lost his life? Why do you have to put a negative connotation into a tweet about someone that has already lost their life? That's negative enough. We do not need to put the negative on what his shortcomings were as a professional athlete. Like, that's just so disrespectful. It was so disrespectful. And the apology was half-assed. I don't care, Adam. Like, Adam Schefter's also, like, auto blocking people on Twitter that, like, come at him and stuff. Like, cool, Adam, you have 9 million followers. I don't care, dude. You're still a clown for that tweet. Like, and he came back and did an apology, and, like, cool, whatever. It's good that at least he said something, but, like, I didn't find it any, like, sort of thing. Like, he tried to make it sound to a tone where, like, oh yeah, I'm really mean this, but, like, come on, man. You wouldn't have issued that apology if you didn't have backlash. Let's be honest about it. The other one, though, David, the one that made me even more mad, I don't know if you saw this one, because that's, like, the big headline. Gil Brandt.
I saw it. I saw both of them. Yeah.
Gil Brandt goes on a podcast or on a show, whatever it was. The video, the audio clip went on Twitter. If you just search Gil Brandt, I'm sure you'll find it. Just hit the video section on Twitter. And I mean, basically, he has some of these quotes in this meeting where he basically said he was just living to die and stuff like just really disrespectful stuff, man. Basically just portraying him as, like, a loose cannon that, like, this was going to happen. Like, it was going to happen. How disrespectful can you possibly be? And Gil Brandt, I looked it up, David. He's like 90 years old. He should not be allowed to do anything anymore, dude. Like, get away. Take away all his money, put him in a home somewhere. I don't care, man. Like, how disrespectful can you possibly be? How insensitive right now to say something like that. I don't care what your feelings are about him. I don't care. Why are you taking away from a young man's, like, it is his family's moment to mourn him right now. It's their moment. And you took it away from him and you made it about yourself and your opinion. Why is that? I'm just so angry about that one. Like, I was mad about the Schefter thing, but I was furious about the Gil Brandt thing. It was disgusting, and it was inexcusable that guy had to take like that, and that he was allowed to voice that take. Just ridiculous, man.
Well, again, in our culture now, with the rush to media, rush to get something out, rush to be the first, rush to say the most shocking thing, rush of crap that we got out there. It's just ridiculous. And both Adam and Gil, should be ashamed of what they said. I don't feel either one of them are, because they're like, this is just a guy who was like they said, struggling to fit in and find his place. All they saw was, and all they reported on was the athlete and the profession of the individual, not the individual. And Dwayne was a person, a son, a father. Like I said, he meant something to individuals and other individuals that are now impacted without his presence in their life for the rest of their life. And so, and you, like you said, wordsmithing is in these situations are so key to be able to be sensitive but still report on it. And if you don't have that empathy in your heart to give to somebody, then don't say anything else. Shut the fuck up. You know? Like seriously, go back to, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Let's just go back there, right? Because that's just bullshit that you're going to say something like that, like you said, the family's mourning. And when people look up headlines of their son, these are the two jokers headlines that are going to come up, first and foremost, because of their following. Someone said the other day, when you have when you're a leader, you need to learn how to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
And when we see examples of this as today's leaders, I don't see a lot of humility built into any of them. And again, these tragic situations, it really hits you hard. Or at least it hits me hard. Obviously, it hits you hard. Hopefully, it hits everybody when we put this kind of twist on it, like our Mavs twist on it. It's just like, you got to think of the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And before you hit send on something, really know what the impact's going to be. Adam Schefter, you got 9 million followers. And if you go and hit send on something like that and you didn't think it through, shame on you. Like seriously, shame on you.
Well, like I was saying, man, the Gil Brandt thing like made me even more infuriated than Schefter originally. But then also, David, it's like Adam Schefter has made his career off of building relationships with people. He's a breaking news guy, and then you don't have the humility and like the common sense to treat people in a better manner than like portraying him that way. Like it's so ass backwards in my opinion. Like doesn't make any sense.
It's shock value. It's crap. And again, we're not thinking of people anymore. People are being treated like possessions, while possessions are being treated like people. You know what I mean? So it's like people treat their freaking cars better than they do their girlfriends or husbands. They treat the dog better than they do their freaking husband most of the time. But it's like, just again, we need to slow down, gain perspective, learn to be there for one another. And, look at the tragedy in New York today. I wasn't going to say nothing, but now I'm there. But the tragedy in New York today, I mean, I got a son that lives up there. I knew it wasn't in his neighborhood, his borough, but I still, watched a little extra news coverage on it and was like making sure it was all good. I texted him and made sure he was okay, and everything. But it's like you got these people who are just trying to go to work today and they got caught up in stuff. You got a whole country in Ukraine who, they didn't invite anybody over to come do what they're doing, all those atrocities that are going on. And what is it for? Land grab, water, resources, ego, right? And now, and I tie it all together because here we got a young man who died tragically too early, and people can't be sensitive about what they say about him. It was going to be a huge story no matter what they said about him because of who he was as an individual. All they had to do was treat it with more sensitivity. That's all.
That's it, man. Yeah. No, I mean, let it be what the situation is. Like, why do you have to put your twist on it? Why do you have to kind of portray it in a certain way? I mean, again, sorry for anybody out there to end this episode on a negative note. We really did not intend to do that, but this is a real conversation that we do here at Mav Sports Take. So I wanted to put that out into the universe. I wanted to give the conversation the amount of time it deserved because, originally we were just going to kind of do a last minute, final thought type of thing. David was going to, go on his spiel that he started us with here, but we just spent 15 minutes and I wish we could have spent a lot longer on this side of it. But Want to conclude it there. We had two great guests on today. Cole Johnson, quarterback out of James Madison. Chris Oladokin, quarterback out of South Dakota State. Both 2022 NFL draft prospects. I think both are going to have a shot to stick long-term in the league, especially Chris. I think he's a really talented dual threat quarterback that's going to get a lot of looks. So appreciate everybody for following along. Again, it's Matt Sports Take episode 82. Hope everybody has a great week, and we will talk